All right, let me tell you how my life got hijacked by a nosy neighbor who thought she was the sheriff of the whole damn lake, and how I got the last laugh, plus a couple more stories that'll make you shake your head at just how far people will go for a little power trip. But first, picture this. You inherit your grandpa's peaceful old lake house, the one with the creaky porch and the smell of campfire in the walls. And then some random woman starts plastering fake fines on your door, calling the cops on you for camping on your own land. I know it sounds like something out of a sitcom, right? But nope, this was my actual life for a whole year. Now let me back up a sec. My grandpa, man, he was a legend. The kind of guy who could name every tree in the forest and would tell you stories about how our family built that house with their own hands back, when people still used actual hammers and nails, not just phone apps to order lumber. Every weekend as a kid, I'd pile into the car, make the drive out past the city, and spend time fishing and pretending we were camping deep in the woods. Really, we never went far. If it started raining or I got spooked by the sound of a raccoon, we'd be back inside eating s'mores by his little backyard fire pit in no time. Those are the kind of memories you want to wrap up and keep in your pocket forever, you know? So when Grandpa passed away, it was rough. But in his will, he left me the lake house. I guess it made sense. My parents are city folks, never cared much for mud or bugs, but I was always right there by Grandpa's side, trying to learn everything he'd teach me. Owning that house felt huge, honestly, like I was holding on to a piece of him, and the whole family's history, too. The house itself, man, it's a beauty. Tucked into the trees right up against the water. There's mist over the lake in the mornings, and you can just sit on the porch with a mug of coffee and pretend you're the only person in the world. It's been our family's for generations. But about 10 years back, some developer built a luxury neighborhood right up the hill. You know the type, identical mailboxes, weekly landscaping crews. People who'll fine you if your grass is too long. The HOA runs that show, but my grandpa's place. It's not part of any of that. Our land is technically its own little island, legally speaking. Or at least that's what I thought. I made the house my getaway. Every weekend I'd drive up, check on things, do a little fishing, maybe camp out by the water if the mood struck. For over a year, nobody bothered me. Then one Saturday I'm out back raking up leaves, and I hear the doorbell real faint since the place is huge and the bell's ancient. I figured it was just my folks, or maybe an old friend of Grandpa's. But nope, it's this woman I've never seen before. She's got that look, pursed lips, clipboard, probably the type who has a sticker for every holiday. She barely introduces herself before she launches into this speech about how she's been observing my property. Yeah, she actually said that, and how my overnight stays and camping were in violation of the neighborhood's HOA standards. Apparently she could see the smoke from a distance and thought that was some kind of crime. She tells me I'm ducking HOA meetings and not paying my dues, and if I do it again, she's going to fine me. I tried to be polite, really I did. I explained that my house wasn't part of the neighborhood, that the property line was well before the new development even started, and by the way, maybe she should stop spying on people from across the woods. But she just doubled down, told me not to get snarky, and that as a board member she had the authority to make me comply. I closed the door on her thinking, that's that. Man, I was wrong. The next week I came back to a stack of notes stuck to my door, one for every day I was gone. Demands to pay up, warnings to stop camping, all sorts of nonsense. I ignored them, figuring, hey, I'm not breaking any laws. She even started writing up fake fines, which I'll admit I used as kindling for my next campfire. But she wouldn't quit. Every single weekend she'd show up ringing the bell, sometimes knocking for minutes at a time. I started feeling like I was living in a horror movie with her popping up out of the trees. It got so bad I started thinking about calling a lawyer, but I hate drama, you know. My friends kept telling me to report her, but I dragged my feet, until of course she beat me to it. One night I'm out by the fire just relaxing, and suddenly there are flashing lights bouncing off the lake, red and blue lighting up the trees. I knew right away who'd called them. Sure enough, 2 cops at my door with Karen lurking in the shadows. She'd told them I was staying on the property illegally, breaking HOA guidelines, which, by the way, don't even exist. I showed the cops the deed, explained the whole inheritance, and thankfully they were reasonable. Apologized for bothering me, and told Karen to knock it off. She lost it, screaming at the cops about how they weren't doing their jobs, accusing me of manipulating everyone. When I asked her if she was done now, she just sneered and promised to make my life a living hell. Yeah, that happened. At this point, I'd had enough. I decided to go straight to the source. I checked out the HOA website, figuring I'd complain about their so-called board member. But here's the twist. When I pulled up the list of board members, Karen's name wasn't anywhere. No photo, no nothing. Turns out she wasn't even part of the HOA at all. So I printed off her picture. I'd snapped one from my porch just in case and took it to the HOA office. The secretary took one look at it and made a face like she'd just bitten into a lemon. She explained that Karen had tried to join the board years ago, but they turned her down for being too rude. Now you know you've really made an impression when the HOA thinks you're too obnoxious. The HOA launched an investigation, and as they started poking around, things got even crazier. Turns out Karen had been impersonating an HOA board member, not just with me, but with half the neighborhood. She'd been leaving fake fines, pocketing the money, thousands of dollars all told. She'd send out letters with her own return address, collect the payments, and keep them. And nobody caught on because it was so sporadic until I connected the dots. Once the HOA realized what was up, they called the cops, and Karen got arrested for fraud and theft. She ended up serving a year in jail, had to pay back all the money she'd scammed, and the HOA apologized to me, even though technically none of it was their fault. To make up for it, they put up a formal sign at the property line, promising to keep their folks away from my place. I didn't really need it, but hey, it felt like a nice bow on the whole saga. Standing on the porch watching that new sign go up, I couldn't help but wonder how many people like Karen are out there just itching to boss folks around, all that energy wasted on making people miserable, when she could have just minded her own business and enjoyed the lake like everyone else. But hey, at least this time justice actually came through. And let me ask you, have you ever had to deal with a Karen or someone who thought they ran the whole world just because they could shout louder than everyone else? What's the pettiest or most ridiculous power trip you've witnessed? Drop your story below because trust me, I could read those all day. And hey, if you believe in standing up for what's right, even when it feels like the world's gone nuts, share your thoughts. Where's the line between looking out for your community and just being a busybody? Let's talk about what real justice looks like. I'll be in the comments roasting marshmallows and waiting for your best Karen tales.